The ancient history of the Castle of Otranto is shrouded in mystery. One of the earliest accounts goes back to the beginning of the 13th century, when Frederick II reinforced the fortress after it was attacked by Moorish pirates. He was the Holy Roman Emperor who ruled over Central Europe, Italy, and Sicily, and was often referred to as the Antichrist on account of his eccentric and enigmatic personality. He loved exotic animals, and his menagerie included falcons, owls, cranes, herons, lynxes, cheetahs, leopards, giraffes, and even an elephant. He had at least 3 wives and several mistresses. His favorite son was named Manfred, which is a shortening of the German phrase Mann des Friedens, meaning man of peace. Manfred was born at the foot of Mount Vulture in the southern Italian region of Basilicata, and soon bore the title of Prince of Taranto, which comprised the regions of Basilicata and Apulia. He studied in Paris and Bologna and shared with his father a love of poetry and science. Manfred was married twice. His first wife was Beatrice of Savoy, by whom he had a daughter, and his second wife was Helena of Epirus, who bore him a daughter and 3 sons. Manfred traveled all over Italy, but spent most of his life in Apulia, the so-called heel of the peninsula. His favorite residences were the Castle of Trani, which dominated what was the most important port on the Adriatic Sea in the 13th century, the Castle of Gioia, located among the hills of the hinterland, the Castle of Castro, close to Italy's easternmost point on the Strait of Otranto, and the Castle of Otranto proper, overlooking the Otranto harbor and nearby beaches. Manfred loved the Adriatic coast so much, he built the modern city of Manfredonia on a large bay about 300 kilometers northwest of Otranto. The Castle of Otranto features 3 towers, an arrowhead bastion, and a subterranean labyrinth of secret tunnels and dark hallways. Next to the castle is the large cathedral, whose floors were covered with mosaics by a monk in the 12th century. Bones and relics of 813 local inhabitants killed by Ottoman invaders are preserved in 5 huge vitrines around the high altar. East of the castle, standing atop a cliff, is the Serpent's Tower, which is featured in the city's coat of arms. South of the city center is Minerva Hill, around which were built St. Mary's Nunnery and St. Nicholas Monastery, one of the most important in southern Italy. Nearby is also an ancient crypt, which can be accessed through a long tunnel. Manfred happened to be the Pope's bête noire, so the Holy See issued an anathema against him. The Pope goaded the French Prince Charles I of Anjou into attacking southern Italy. Manfred was killed, while his wife and children were captured. Helena remained locked up in the castle of Nocera Inferiore until her death in 1271. Her children were imprisoned in the mountain castle of Andria until 1299, when Charles I moved them to the Neapolitan castle of Megaride Island. Kept in a windowless dungeon on half rations, they became nearly blind and half mad. 2 of Manfred's sons died in captivity. His daughter was released, while his other son broke free, fled to Germany and then Egypt, where he died in 1312. Let us now fast forward to 18th century England. Horace Walpole was born in London in 1717. He went on the grand tour of France and Italy with his best friend Thomas Gray from 1739 to 1741. 8 years after returning to London, he transformed his new house at Strawberry Hill into a Gothic villa, thus reviving the Gothic style many decades before his Victorian successors. He was an antiquarian, art historian, and man of letters. His literary reputation rests on the novel The Castle of Otranto, written in 1764, and purported to be a translation based on an old Neapolitan manuscript. However, the plot was entirely fictional. In Walpole's novel, Manfred had one daughter called Matilda and one son called Conrad. Manfred had contracted a marriage for his son with a nobleman's daughter called Isabella. Shortly before the wedding, Conrad was crushed to death by a gigantic helmet that fell on him from above. An ancient prophecy had pronounced that the castle and lordship of Otranto should pass from the present family whenever the real owner should be grown too large to inhabit it. Manfred resolved to avert disaster by marrying Isabella himself, while divorcing his wife Hippolyta. Later on, suspecting that Isabella might be meeting his friend Theodore in a tryst, Manfred was blinded by anger and jealousy, and erroneously stabbed his own daughter Matilda, mistaking her for Isabella. Theodore was then revealed to be the true lord of the castle. After Manfred abdicated, he and his wife retired to become a monk and a nun in nearby convents. The novel and Manfred's real-life story have only one thing in common. That is, a sad ending. The gigantic helmet, which apparently belonged to Theodore in the novel, was actually a symbol of wisdom and power associated with the goddess Athena or Minerva, worshipped in ancient Apulia, and Saint Tryphon, who has been venerated in the region since the 19th century. And in the 7th century, a monk named Cataldus did write an ominous prophecy about southern Italy's fate. Born in southern Ireland, he sailed across the Mediterranean, but shipwrecked on the coast of Apulia, where he was rescued and persuaded to stay until his death. What Walpole meant to point out in his novel is that a parent's desire to produce an heir may have tragic consequences, as the gods visit the sins of the fathers upon the children. By combining fantastic situations with real people and existing locations, Walpole created a new and distinct style of literary fiction that has endured ever since. The novel was a smash hit in its day, until the author revealed that it was a figment of his imagination rather than an actual adaptation of historical accounts.